Welcome back to Coffee with Kay. So I am going to wrap up this season, An Ode to My 20s. As you can see, I'm about ready to pop. I have like 3-4 weeks left before I have this baby. And so I'm trying to wrap up the season before it's baby time so that when I come back, whenever I come back online again, I'll be ready to hop into something new and exciting and fun. But I thought it would be really fun to conclude this season, An Ode to My 20s, with some like health and wellness and just sharing about like becoming a crunchy mom or like a crunchy person, because I was not always like this. So I'll start by saying, growing up, I was pretty much your average 90s kid, had lots of time outside. I personally was not allowed to eat a lot of junk food. Like my parents did not buy Pop-Tarts and stuff like that. Was not really allowed to drink soda. We didn't really eat fast food. My mom cooked like boxed mashed potatoes and boxed pancakes and boxed cake mix kind of thing. And we ate at home a lot. I took Flintstones vitamins and vitamin C chewables. Was not a sickly kid. Pretty healthy. That was my norm growing up. And then I think when I was 15, I decided I wanted to be semi-vegetarian. Because I kind of just had this epiphany that I didn't feel like red meat was good for you. Especially like fast food and hamburgers and stuff like that. And so I decided to just become a vegetarian, and I would have a hamburger once a year in the summertime. It had to be grilled. It had to be like a superb hamburger. But I stopped eating red meat, and that was just a personal choice. I just felt like it wasn't as healthy, so I didn't do it. And then when I was in college, when I was like 18 or so, I developed a dairy allergy. And I'm pretty sure it was like trauma-based, like inflammation-based. And so I had to cut out all dairy, milk, butter, eggs. It was so sensitive. Chocolate, candy, like I could not have any dairy. And I'm in college. It was not the time. So I had to learn how to eat vegan, and like how to eat dairy-free. And this was like 2012, 13, 14 era. And so there was not a ton of like health food options back then. Like I remember I could find almond cheese at the natural grocers. There's almond milk. But like all the options that you have now at your local grocery store, like, that did not exist back then. Or if it did exist, it was so specialty and it was so expensive. And I was in college and I was so broke. And so I was, I guess what you would call like semi-vegetarian, pescatarian, dairy-free. Pretty much until I was 21, 20, almost 22. I didn't like meat. And so anyway, that forced me to be really creative, and that kind of forced me into the crunchy lifestyle because I was around it a lot and I had to find like different food substitutes so I could eat. And that slowly, like, it really started to change once I had my first baby. So if you haven't listened to my other episodes yet, make sure you listen to those so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from and just like some more of my stories. So I had my first baby at 22. I got married at 21. We were pretty conventional parents. Like that's how I was raised. That's how my husband was raised pretty much. So we just did what we knew. But I had a really close friend. She's still my really close friend, who was super crunchy, and she would like share stuff with me. And I always thought she was such an oddball, but I would listen to her and just be open-minded. But slowly I started to really like grab hold of what she was telling me. So one of the first things are like shots, right? And my husband and I were like, we really don't know a lot. Our parents gave it to us. We were okay. We probably weren't as okay as we think we are. And so we were still skeptical, but we wanted to learn. So we were doing like a delayed shot schedule. And then we got to be one of those lucky parents to experience an injury. Excuse me. Excuse me. Great. Not that for me. That got to experience an injury with our oldest. And that really like got us in gear about learning. We were one of those lucky stuff all over my sweater. We were one of those lucky parents that experienced an injury with one of our children. And so that really changed the trajectory and the speed of joining the crunchy lifestyle. So I had some friends and like mentors share resources about specifically like shots, kid shots. And so I started watching documentaries about it and reading about it, just like diving headfirst into that world. And it really opened my eyes to why people chose this lifestyle, like why people chose the country lifestyle. It really started to make sense. And then I've always been like an environmentalist growing up on the East Coast. Like we learned about recycling really young, and that's like very common, very normal on the East Coast. And so I've always been like, let's recycle, let's use like repurpose our goods and take care of the earth and garden and pick up your trash and don't litter, like very much an environmentalist at heart. And so another thing that really started getting me to think about the crunchy lifestyle was having my first baby and diapers. Diapers was really like the second big thing that triggered that shift in my mind. And I was like changing my baby's diapers all the time, right? And I kind of got to thinking like, this can't be good for the environment because diapers don't break down. Like everybody knows diapers do not break down. So what happens to them? Well, they end up in landfills and it takes decades and decades and decades for them to break down, which is horrible for the environment. And so then I had a friend offer me cloth diapers. And so I started doing cloth diapering with my first baby. And I got really into it and I liked it. And so I was doing cloth diapering. And I remember one day I was washing the diapers and I was like putting all my detergents in, you know, my little wash recipe for all my cloth diaper moms out there. And I was like, I'm using Tide and water softener and all these chemicals. I wonder how this impacts the environment. So then I started doing some research and I researched like what water softener, how that impacts the water supply, how that gets processed and how they treat that, and like different laundry detergents, how does that impact the environment? And then I was like, well, if this stuff is impacting the environment, then what is it doing to your body? Because I'm putting the stuff on my baby, I'm putting the stuff on our skin, I'm washing our clothes in this, we're breathing it in, it's in our air. So if this has this much of a harmful effect just on the water supply, what about my body? What about my cells, right? And so then I started looking that up. And it just like completely changed the trajectory of my life pretty much in the best way possible. One, it forced me to become an advocate for myself and to learn how to do research, which I think is so important. Like, okay, that's great if you're open-minded and you're willing to hear other people's perspectives, but it's also really dangerous to be just like a blind acceptor of things that you hear because somebody says it or you saw something online and it sounds probably true, so you just start doing it yourself. No, like, you need to know your why. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, or like why you're upending your lifestyle to do XYZ. And then two, it's been really fun to like then get to teach other people about it and just to get to like stretch the limits of the crunchy lifestyle. So by the time we had our second baby, I had gone deep into epidurals, childbirth, cloth diapers, detergents, no candles, no fragrances, non-toxic cleaning, so like everything. And at this time in our lives, we really did not have a lot of money. We were working to get out of debt. My husband had gone back to school. We had 2 young children. We moved cities, so like we had a very slim budget. So I was learning how to do these things also on like a minuscule budget. So I was making a lot of my own things if I could. So for their time, I made my own laundry detergent. I made my own dishwasher soap. I made my own toilet bowl cleaning. I made my own floor cleaner. Like I made my own surface cleaner until we could afford the things that I really wanted to use. One of the things I love to use that I still use is Young Living's cleaning concentrate. The best. I love it. I love Young Living. I love their essential oils. I used to have a little candle shop where I would make non-toxic beeswax candles, and I would use essential oils for the fragrance of my candles, and that was really fun. Or I'd make body lotion. I'd make my own body lotion with shea butter and beef tallow that I would render myself, and essential oils for any scents. I started using oils for like aches and pains and colds and detox baths, and like I'm sure if you have ever just even touched the tip of the iceberg of the crunchy lifestyle, you know it goes so deep, and it's just so, there's just so many options. Truthfully, I think it's really fun. I don't find it overwhelming because also as I've gotten to like adapt the crunchy lifestyle over the years. I've learned to let go of a lot of things and not be so anal about everything, because it can easily be over consuming to just be so overburdened with what is this restaurant cooking with, what is this family member cooking with, what is this friend cooking with. Oh my goodness, is that a Scentsy? I'm using a public bathroom. I need to hold my breath because there's like an automatic air freshener going on. I mean, it's just so easy to get so overwhelmed. And I didn't want to be like that. And truthfully, I feel like you can kind of become like a bit of a nuisance of a person when you're like that, when you're just so particular or so picky or just so like, I can't be around that, or like, we can't do. Some things you just have to let go. And so when I had my allergy, especially, my allergy surprisingly went away after I had my first baby, which was super cool because I missed normal ice cream. I missed dairy so much. I love cheese and chocolate and ice cream, and I had missed it. And so that was super fun to have that back in my life, and then learn like about raw milk or raw cheese or raw yogurt or kombucha and gut health and like that scheme of life. But it was also really nice to like let loose a little bit because I didn't have an allergy anymore, so I didn't have to be so particular about what I ate because I was worried about like having an asthma attack and stuff like that. Like, I could relax. And so just knowing like what is the priority and what is like give and take. And I'm trying to think what else. Like, I think now, especially as I've gotten older, I've become more sensitive to like artificial fragrances and like really strong cleaning chemicals. Like, it just like I get headaches like crazy. And so I noticed that stuff, and I do try to stay away from it, or just kind of be like discreet about it. But I really like, I never want to be that sort of picky person. That's just not my personality. But yeah, it's been fun to share that lifestyle aspect with my parents, and to like make them my homemade products, or my lotions, or my candles, or like when I go visit my dad, we usually stay for a couple weeks and we'll like help clean and go grocery shop. And so I usually will like grocery shop for cleaning supplies that we use in our own home so that he can use them even when we're gone, and just kind of like experience the difference of having like non-conventional cleaning products in his house, or like organic foods or organic meats or whatever. Just like slowly, subtly introducing them to that lifestyle just by experience, just because that's just what we use. And so we care about them too, so we bring it there, and they don't, they don't throw a fit or anything or fuss. But my mom is pretty good about that too. And so anyway, that's kind of just been fun to see that change with my own parents and getting to share that with them, and they don't think I'm some super crazy freak or anything like that. We still wear deodorant, non-toxic deodorant, nude deodorant. I have my link in the show notes. If you have never heard of it, you'll be so glad that I shared about it with you. It is like the best hippie deodorant I've ever used in my whole life. I do not stink. I sometimes do sweat because it's not meant to be an antiperspirant. You want to perspire. I'm sorry, I'm going off like on a completely different rabbit trail / plugging in one of my affiliate codes for nude deodorant, NUUD. Again, link is in the show notes. It is the best hippie deodorant. If you love your friends, you will not let them smell like a hippie. You will encourage them to use nude deodorant, and you will never go back. I haven't gone back. I've been using it for at least 2 years now. It is the bomb.com. So anyway, we still use deodorant. We use body wash. Technically, it's not soap. It's called Levia. Another seamless plug. This one I am not sponsored for, but maybe someday I will get sponsored. It is a probiotic, prebiotic body wash, so it works with the microbiome on your skin to protect your skin's microbiome. But you don't smell like a hippie. You still get clean. I've been using them for 5 years. It's the only soap my entire family uses on our bodies, and we love it. Okay, and we use their body lotion because it's amazing. All right, that's enough plugs for now. But you see where I'm going with this, right? It can be so over-consuming to become a crunchy mom. And so it's just helpful to learn little by little what steps to take to like slowly transition into the lifestyle. So like I said, we first really started getting into the crunchy lifestyle when we had our second baby. And so that's kind of when we went full on non-conventional childbirthing. We started going to a birthing center and using a midwife, and I was really determined to have a natural childbirth and to not have an epidural this time, and to like really hone in on my body's capabilities and have like as natural of a pregnancy as I could, and supporting my pregnancy naturally. And then, I got to have that natural childbirth. It was at a hospital. I wasn't able to use the birthing center. I had to get induced at like 42 weeks because I went to 42 weeks. And, but I didn't have an epidural that time, and I got to use those techniques I learned, and it was the most freeing it was like such a cool experience just to know that there are so many ways that like we can use nature and our minds and our own strength to like produce and live and be. And then like swapping out cleaning products. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of money back then, and so every set counted. And so I used up what we had before I bought anything new, and I just had to trust that like it was going to be okay, because I wasn't going to waste what we already had. We'd already spent money on, because that was not right either. It wasn't being a good steward of our items, of our household and our finances. And then like I slowly, I made what I wanted until I could afford to just buy it outright. So that's things like multi-surface cleaner or toilet cleaner or whatever. And I'm not super particular about brands. Again, like my personal favorite brand is Young Living. But now I also use like Mrs. Meyer's. Sometimes I use 7th Generation. For our dishwasher pods, I use Let Me Shine. I get it from Walmart. Love them. For my laundry soap, I use Buff City soap. Love Buff City soaps. It smells so good. So good. And so I use tons of different brands, and they're not all always name brand. And like good old vinegar still goes such a long way. But I really try not to be super picky. And we also live kind of more in the country now. And so like a lot of popular brands or cleaner brands, they are not at my local stores. Or when we first moved out here, especially, they were not at our local stores. And I couldn't always go to a specialty store. So now there's more availability and accessibility just at like your major grocery stores. But I can also we have room in our budget to go to those specialty stores, so I can get specialty products or get them online like Young Living. And so that's been a big change. But I mean, it took years to build up to that. And I still want to be careful with our resources. And so if it's not in the budget, or like I need it really quickly and I can't wait for it to come in online, then I'm going to get it at the store down the street, and I'm not going to fret. But yeah, we do, filtered water and mineral drops, and learning about your water supply and testing your guys. Okay, now that I say this out loud, yeah, we're pretty cringy. My kids wear barefoot shoes sometimes. I still like for them to have cute shoes, but they also really need the barefoot shoes too, because I've seen how it impacts their growing and their comfort and their feet. And I want them to have healthy feet, and I want them to have healthy knees and spines. We go to the chiropractor regularly, and we love the chiropractor, and we will always share with our friends and family the benefits of chiropractic care to regulate not only your nervous system, but your muscular system, your emotions, your psychological system. I mean, it's just so crazy how much chiropractic care impacts your body from the inside out. And we've experienced the benefits firsthand of chiropractic care. And so that's like another thing that we added to our lifestyles as we could afford it, because for a long time we really couldn't afford it. And it was more just like if we had an injury, then we would go to the chiropractor. But now we have the opportunity to go almost on a weekly basis for like maintenance care, so that in the future we don't have to go on a weekly basis. In the future, our bodies will be set up for success. We love massage therapy. I use an acupressure mat. We use red light therapy. We do foot detox baths. We use non-toxic hair products for all of us. Even for me as an African American, I use non-toxic hair products, and that has been a labor of love, learning how to take care of my curls in their natural habitat using as clean of hair products as I can, but also recognizing some of the things that I want to do, like want to use for my hair, just don't exist as like super clean products. And so I have to use what's out there. Specifically, I'm thinking of like heat protectant, silk press oil when I do like a silk press or blow dry out my hair. There's certain things that I have to just search for the best for. Still learning how to read ingredients and in hair care products. But if I'm going to straighten my hair, I don't want to see a single wave in that root. So if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes, and it's going to be okay. Nail polish remover. Like I said, we use essential oils, so we use diffusers in our home or non-toxic candles. I make like my own fabric refreshener. I'm trying to think what else we do. Like we have EMF protection from like Wi-Fi and all of our gadgets, because we want to protect our bodies from that as well, because those electromagnetic frequencies do impact you whether you realize it or not. And that is a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. And then how we even take medicines and how we treat different illnesses. And we are, I think one of the best aspects of being crunchy personally is that like you do what you can until you do what you have to. And so we will not turn down the medical system or Western medicine. Like if we really need that help, like we will get that extra support, and we're grateful for Western medicine. But we've learned that you can turn to other methods first, like natural medicines, until you've exhausted those options, and then try other things from there. So that's probably, and then our food, we try to eat organic and like non-GMO as much as possible. And we really do probably a good 80% of the time. We do eat out sometimes, but not a lot. And when we do, we have our couple restaurants we like to hit up. It's usually like this authentic Mexican food restaurant. We love Vietnamese food and Thai food. And then there's like a local pizza place that makes oven brick pizzas that we really like, clean ingredients. And so even when we eat out, we really do try and look for things that are like not just subpar, because it does matter and we feel the difference. We don't like how we feel half the time if we don't pay attention to that difference. And so trying to think what else. I know there's just like endless options, from sheets to clothing. We really try and like, I shop secondhand for pretty much almost all of our family's clothes, and learning how to shop for natural fibers and not have like polyester or man-made material fabrics on our bodies, or like ending up in the water supply or in the landfill when it wears out. So buying clothes made of natural fibers and sheets made of natural fibers that are made to like work with the environment and work with your body's environment. I mean, there's so much that goes into the crunchy lifestyle that it's just, it sounds so overwhelming when you hear about it. And I'm sure I sound like I'm rambling at this point, but I say all this, I've been doing this for 10 years. So it wasn't like I just woke up one day and was like, I have to overhaul everything in my life and completely start from scratch. Like it's just been a very gradual, very slow process. And as I have the capacity to learn and the capacity to change things, or the finances to change things, then we do it. And if we don't, then we don't. But you can still learn about it. You can still save it for later. And just having I just have a lot of hope and trust in the Lord that like His grace is sufficient, even when it comes down to a crunchy lifestyle. That if there's some things that I'm like, man, I really wish we didn't have to eat this, or like, I really wish we could afford this already, like an air purifying system or like a water purifying system. I wish we could have those things already, but we can't. I'm going to trust that my plug-in air filters and my like refrigerator filter, or my like little countertop filter is doing the best it can to serve the purpose I'm hoping it's serving, until we can try this or get that or afford that. Because at the end of the day, stewarding your resources, I think, comes higher up on the totem pole than blowing your resources just because you're afraid or you really want something. And I'm just seeing how the Lord has worked through Western medicine and like conventional medicine. And so that's going to be a cool story for the next episode, because in the next episode, I'm going to share like one of the craziest times that natural medicine and like the country lifestyle has intermingled with Western medicine and like the conventional. Some people call it, oh my word, what do you call it? If you're not crunchy, you're silky. You're silky because you're just smooth and you just do like the norm or whatever. And we've had to make do. And so those two stories specifically are in our previous rental house that we lived in for almost 2 years. We found out that there was significant mold in that house, and it had been making us so sick. It had been making us so sick. And so that was just a whole ordeal where natural remedies and like modern medicine completely commingled in order to get us back to health. And then also another like really fun story I love to share is about when our family lived in the Bahamas for about a month and a half. And the first week there, all 3 of our kids caught hand, foot, mouth, and we're living on this tiny remote island that is like 2 miles long, and the pharmacy was like half an aisle big, and I had to make do with what I could find at the grocery store to get better, and because that's all that was available, and it was not natural medicine. And so like learning how to treat hand, foot, mouth on a remote island with what was around me, and our kids came out fine. And so that's going to be next week's episode. So definitely come back because those stories are really fun. And then I'm going to do like the last one is going to be like a Q&A. And so just be collecting some questions and answers from you guys about different topics that you want to hear about or different products, and being able to like compile a little resource kit for you guys. Until next week. Speaking of crunchy living, we take mold very seriously in our house, and to fight and prevent any mold spores from popping up within our home, we use Microbalance Health products. I have an affiliate code in the show notes below, and I have a story that I will share more about with them very soon, so stay tuned.